Yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that. Like, it's not just because of one person.
Last year, you made a powerful statement saying the reason people are watching women's basketball is not just because of one player, but because of you too. A year later, do you feel like you're getting
Next question.
The reporter barely got the words out. Do you feel like you're... When Angel Reese cut him off with 2 words that said it all. Next question. That wasn't just a clapback. It was a snapshot of the WNBA's biggest story. The tension between Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, and an entire league that doesn't know whether to celebrate or sabotage its new superstar. Because here's the truth. Caitlin Clark isn't just playing basketball. She's dragging an entire league into the spotlight. Whether they like it or not, millions of new fans, packed arenas, record-breaking TV ratings, all because of her.
She knows what the people
She broke the record
want.
making that shot to begin it.
But instead of embracing the Caitlin Clark effect, too many people in the league treated it like a threat. They downplayed it. They mocked it.
There are women that were worthy of coverage prior to her arriving, and I just will not be silenced when it comes to that.
Some even tried to physically shut her down on the court. And yet, every shot she drained, every game she dominated, only made her influence impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark is having her Michael Jordan moment in real time, and the WNBA is scrambling to figure out how to deal with it. But trust me, what's happening behind the scenes is even crazier than what you've seen on TV. From jealousy, to denial, to full-on acceptance, the league's relationship with Clark has played out like the stages of grief, and it all built to one shocking moment that changed everything. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see exactly how Caitlin Clark went from rookie under fire to the face of a revolution. By the time Caitlin Clark touched a WNBA court, she wasn't just another rookie, she was a phenomenon. Her name alone pulled millions of new fans into the league. Season tickets that had once collected dust were suddenly selling out in hours. Scalpers charged playoff-level prices for regular season games. Jerseys flew off the shelves so fast, stores couldn't keep them stocked. Everywhere she went, arenas that once struggled to fill half the seats were now packed wall to wall with screaming fans. ESPN, ABC, and every sports network you could name wanted her games. And the numbers proved why. Her first pro game pulled in 2.1 million viewers, the highest for the league in over 20 years.
8.4 assists, 6 rebounds.
That's crazy.
This wasn't just hype, it was history. The WNBA had been searching for decades for that one player who could break through into mainstream culture, and now they finally had her. The problem? Not everyone saw it as a blessing.
Well, we don't want to put too much Caitlin Clark on.
Instead of embracing the Caitlin Clark effect, many inside the league treated it like a threat. Veterans who had spent years grinding for recognition didn't want to admit that one player had achieved what the rest of the league never could. Some players mocked the attention, downplayed the crowds, even accused the fans of not being real. It was jealousy, plain and simple. For decades, the excuse had been, people just don't care about women's basketball. But when fans showed up in record numbers, it wasn't for the league, it was for Caitlin. And that reality hit harder than any foul on the court. And this was just the beginning. Because as Clark's star power grew, the resistance grew louder. What came next was the first stage of the league's grief. Denial.
And that's just life. We all went through it.
Yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that. Like, it's not just because of one person.
Before Caitlin Clark ever wore a WNBA jersey, the tension was already building. She wasn't just a great college player, she was rewriting history. She shattered the NCAA all-time scoring record, not just for women, but for men too. She carried Iowa to back-to-back national championship games, selling out arenas across the country, and she did it while casually draining logo threes like they were warm-up layups. So, when draft night came, there was no suspense. Everyone knew she'd be the #1 pick. The cameras, the media, the sponsors, it all felt less like a draft and more like a coronation. Caitlin wasn't just joining the WNBA, she was being crowned as its future. And that's where the cracks started to show. Because the league had seen stars before, Aja Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Kelsey Plum, all MVPs, champions, legitimate superstars, but none of them came in with this level of hype, this level of attention. For some veterans, that stung. Instead of celebrating the moment, many in the league shifted into denial. The narrative was set before Caitlin even touched the court. She's good, but the WNBA is different. College hype doesn't translate here. It wasn't just skepticism, it was resistance. If Caitlin had come in and struggled, even just looked average, the old guard would have had their "I told you so" moment. The story would have been easy. College is college, but the WNBA is a different beast. They were waiting for her to flop so they could say, "See, she's not built for this." But that's not what happened. Instead, her first game shattered expectations. Over 2 million people tuned in. Every arena she played in sold out. Jerseys couldn't stay on the shelves. She didn't just meet the hype, she exceeded it. And when that happened, denial collapsed. What came next was even more intense. Stage 2 of the grief. Anger.
Here's Clark. Her 29 points gets tripped up. 3 Sky players coming over.
When Caitlin Clark refused to flop under the weight of the hype, the denial phase ended. She wasn't going away. The fans kept coming, the TV ratings kept climbing, and the media circus only grew louder. That's when the league moved into the next stage of grief, anger. This time, it wasn't about words, it was about actions. On the court, you could see it from day one. Hard screens that went unchecked, off-ball hits that looked more like football tackles, cheap fouls that had nothing to do with the ball, and the referees? They swallowed their whistles. Game after game, Clark was treated like the league's punching bag. Players tested her, hit her, tried to break her down physically and mentally. The message was clear. If the hype won't die naturally, we'll try to beat it out of her. And for a while, it worked. Clark looked drained. She was bruised, exhausted, and visibly frustrated. The pressure of being a rookie with millions of eyes on her, combined with the punishment she took every night, would have broken most players. But not Caitlin. Instead of folding, she adapted. She hit the weight room, came back stronger, and sharpened her game to an MVP level. After the Olympic break, she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Leading the Fever to wins, shattering the assist record, earning first-team All-Star honors. The league had tried to bury her under physicality, but she turned the anger against her opponents. Every foul, every hit, every cheap shot only added fuel to her fire. And once it became clear that she wasn't going to break, the narrative had to change again. If they couldn't deny her and couldn't bully her, the league moved into the next stage of grief, bargaining. When Caitlin Clark proved she couldn't be denied and she couldn't be broken, the WNBA entered its next phase of grief, bargaining. This stage wasn't about fouls or whistles, it was about words. If they couldn't beat Caitlin on the court, they would try to rewrite the story off of it. Instead of going after her directly, critics started attacking everything around her. They claimed the hype wasn't real, that her fans weren't true WNBA fans. Others suggested the attention had nothing to do with her talent, but everything to do with her being a white girl from the Midwest. It was classic spin. Discredit the audience, discredit the media, discredit the circumstances. Anything to avoid giving her full credit. Some voices even argued that Clark was getting preferential treatment, as if the sold-out arenas and record-breaking ratings weren't the result of her performance, but some unfair media bias. Never mind the fact that she was already leading the league in assists as a rookie. Never mind that she was breaking barriers no one else had touched in decades. The bargaining sounded like this: she's good, but she's only big because of the media. Fans like her for the wrong reasons. It was an endless attempt to explain away the reality everyone could see with their own eyes. But here's the thing about bargaining: it doesn't last. Because no matter how much they tried to twist the narrative, reality had other plans. And soon, the same veterans who once mocked Caitlin were suddenly lining up to join her team. That's when the floodgates opened. For months, the WNBA tried to downplay Caitlin Clark. They denied her, they hit her, they tried to spin the story. But eventually, reality smashed through the door. And once it did, the floodgates opened. One by one, veteran stars started signing with the Indiana Fever, not because it was the hottest destination in the league, but because of Caitlin. We're talking about champions, all-stars, seasoned vets with options. Players who could have gone anywhere chose to play alongside a rookie. That's not luck, that's gravitational pull. And it wasn't just the rosters that shifted. Entire arenas had to change. Teams that usually played in small gyms were suddenly booking NBA venues just to fit the demand. If Caitlin Clark was coming to town, 5,000 seats wasn't going to cut it. You needed 15,000. The schedule followed the same pattern. Out of the Fever's 44 regular season games, 41 were nationally televised. Let that sink in. This wasn't just exposure, it was saturation. The networks weren't hedging bets. They pushed all their chips in on Caitlin Clark. And then came the preseason game that silenced every last critic. A meaningless exhibition sold out a 15,000-seat arena, with the average ticket price hitting $650. Fans shelled out nearly $10 million just to watch her warm up. Preseason, no playoff implications, just Caitlin. At that point, there was no spinning it, no denying it. This wasn't hype. This was money. This was momentum. This was the rebirth of the NBA's future. And once the floodgates opened, the league finally started to shift into the one stage they had fought so hard to avoid: acceptance.
Yes, have we ever had teams have to get into larger arenas to play against a team? No, we have not. So if we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlin Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way because she has more television games? I think we have to understand that.
Weird the first year, so I could see like the narrative is already kind of, they're waiting for her to produce so that they can say like they were right.
When the ticket sales, TV ratings, and sold-out arenas reached a point no one could argue with, the WNBA finally shifted into the last stage of grief: acceptance. It didn't happen overnight. For a long time, players and media tried to resist giving Caitlin Clark her flowers. But slowly, the tone changed. The same veterans who once shrugged at her hype started admitting what everyone could see. Caitlin wasn't just good, she was transforming the game. Interviews that once questioned her presence turned into features on her leadership, her discipline, and her impact on the league. Analysts who used to downplay her stats were suddenly calling her a generational talent. And players who had been skeptical were now openly giving her credit. You could hear the shift in their words. When one player eats, we all eat. They started to recognize that Caitlin wasn't stealing the spotlight. She was expanding it. Her success meant more exposure, more money, and more opportunities for everyone. Even rookies admitted how shocking it was to see what Caitlin was doing in her first year, breaking the assist record, leading her team, drawing more attention than any player before her. What was once jealousy slowly turned into admiration. But the moment that truly sealed this shift, the one that showed Caitlin Clark had finally broken through the wall, was her homecoming game in Iowa. And that single night didn't just change opinions, it changed history. If there was one night that proved Caitlin Clark wasn't just a star, but the star, it was her homecoming in Iowa. The stage was set, an exhibition game, the kind of matchup that usually barely registers. But when it was Caitlin returning to Carver Hawkeye Arena, everything changed. More than 1.3 million people tuned in on TV, and the arena was packed to the rafters. For perspective, no NBA preseason game in the last 7 years had drawn that kind of audience. No MLB spring training game had ever come close. And this wasn't even a regular season clash. This was preseason. But the numbers only told half the story. It was what Caitlin did on the court that turned the night into legend. With all eyes on her, she sprinted up the floor and casually pulled up from the exact same spot where she had broken the NCAA scoring record months earlier. Logo 3, nothing but net. The crowd exploded. It wasn't just a shot, it was a statement. A full circle moment that said, I know why you're here, and I'm going to give you exactly what you came for. That's the kind of timing, the kind of showmanship that only the greats have. And when the final buzzer sounded, even her opponents couldn't resist. Members of the Brazilian national team skipped the usual handshakes and swarmed her for selfies, autographs, and photos like they had just met Michael Jordan. Because to them, and to millions watching, that's exactly who Caitlin was in that moment. This wasn't hype anymore. This was history, and the WNBA could no longer pretend otherwise. What came after Iowa wasn't a victory lap. It was a warning shot. While most players eased into the offseason, Caitlin treated it like a second season. Late flights, early mornings, appearances with power brokers, then back in the gym by 8 a.m. No excuses, no shortcuts. That's the blueprint you hear about in whispered legends. Kobe-level discipline. She didn't just adapt to the W, she rebuilt her body for it, tightened her handle against pressure, sharpened her reads, and turned the game into a clinic in pace and control. The result? A version of Caitlin that looked bigger, stronger, and eerily calm under brighter lights. The assists stacked up, the decision-making sped up, the confidence didn't spike. It settled, like a star learning that the moment bends to her, not the other way around. Analysts who once hedged their praise suddenly projected MVP chatter. Veterans who rolled their eyes last year started speaking with respect, and the loudest critics either softened their tone or went silent. Because here's the truth. No league is ever about one player. Until one player brings in tens of millions of new eyeballs, forces arena upgrades, hijacks national TV slots, and turns preseason exhibitions into must-see events. At some point, arguing the why starts to look silly next to the what. The what is undeniable. The grief cycle is over. Acceptance is here. And the Caitlin Clark era isn't on the way, it already started. From denial to anger to bargaining to acceptance, the WNBA tried every stage on the way to a simple reality. Caitlin Clark didn't just join their league, she changed its gravity. Fans packed buildings for her, networks rewrote schedules for her, opponents asked for selfies after the buzzer. And when the pressure peaked, she met it with a shot from the logo and a grin that said, "I know exactly what you came to see." She didn't steal the spotlight, she expanded it. And everyone who steps on that court benefits. So what happens next? Simple. The league stops fighting the wave and starts surfing it. The cameras follow, the crowds grow, the money gets real. And the player who wasn't supposed to be the one becomes the standard everybody else has to chase. If you're still here, drop a trophy in the comments. And if you're ready to watch the WNBA finally ride with Caitlin instead of against her, you already know what to do. Like the video, sub for more, and hey, don't test the spider curse.